The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. The disciples were on the way going up to Jerusalem, and Jesus went ahead of them. They were amazed, and those who followed were afraid. Taking the 12 aside again, he began to tell them what was going to happen to him. Behold, we are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be handed over to the chief priests and the scribes. They will condemn him to death, and hand him over to the Gentiles, who will mock him, spit upon him, scourge him, and put him to death. But after 3 days he will rise. Then James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to Jesus and said to him, Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask of you. He replied, What do you wish me to do for you? They answered him, Grant that in your glory we may sit one at your right and the other at your left. Jesus said to them, You do not know what you are asking. Can you drink the chalice that I drink, or be baptized with the baptism with which I am baptized? They said to him, We can. Jesus said to them, The chalice that I drink you will drink, and with the baptism with which I am baptized you will be baptized. But to sit at my right or at my left is not mine to give, but is for those for whom it has been prepared. When the 10 heard this, they became indignant at James and John. Jesus summoned them and said to them, You know that those who are recognized as rulers over the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones make their authority over them felt. But it shall not be so among you. Rather, whoever wishes to be great among you will be your servant. Whoever wishes to be first among you will be the slave of all. For the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. The Gospel of the Lord. Well, did we make it this morning? All 40 people. Awesome. Congratulations, everybody. Awesome. Yeah. Ourselves a hand. And we did it even without the stars here today. So actually today is the feast of St. Philip Neary, the namesake of Philip, one of their sons. Unfortunately, they couldn't come today because they've been having a sickness go through their house, but they're with us in spirit. So anyway, today is the feast of St. Philip Neary. It's a great feast day. St. Philip was one of the great reformers in church history. He lived right after the Council of Trent. I know all of you are very scholarly and known on the Council of Trent, but for those of you who aren't, the Council of Trent was basically what saved the church after the Protestant Reformation. For a couple of centuries, the church had become very corrupt and depraved. The greatest symbol of that was the city of Rome, which was caused so much fury to Martin Luther and other reformers. They saw the scandalous lives of the Pope and the bishops and the priests who were living in Rome. St. Philip Neary, after the Council of Trent, was one of the great reformers who was called the second apostle to Rome. Right after the first apostle, St. Peter, to Rome. St. Philip Neary was known as someone who reinvigorated the holiness of life in Rome. One of the most striking stories about St. Philip Neary is about a mystical experience he had when he was first ordained a priest. It said that he was in prayer and he had a vision of Jesus, and in the midst of that vision, he had rays that came out from the heart of Jesus and struck his very own heart and set his heart on fire. Some stories say that St. Philip Neary felt such heat in his chest that he actually ran outside and tried to lie in the snow. For the rest of his life, he actually felt that heat of his heart, which had been inflamed. When St. Philip Neary was basically excavated shortly after his death, sure enough, they found in the autopsy that he actually had a couple of ribs that were broken because his heart had become so enlarged, literally. So I think that's a great image and a great story for us. I think in our age, we have two false understandings of the faith. We have on the one hand, in our modern culture, some people think that the faith is anti-human, that it's a depressing way to live, you might say, or it's a restrictive way to live. And yet St. Philip Neary, the story about his heart being set on fire is a reminder to us that to be holy is to be fully alive, to be most fully human, to be set on fire for God and for life. On the other hand, we also have people who say that to be a Christian is to be a prude. To be a Christian is to simply avoid bad speech, debauchery of all sorts of kinds. It's a very Puritan view of the faith. And again, St. Philip Neary is a reminder to us that in order to be a Christian is to be on fire for life and to live a life that is larger than life, like St. Philip Neary did. The last thing I think about St. Philip Neary is, again, he's a reminder to us of what it means to be truly holy. I think sometimes when we think about holiness, we think about holiness as being completely without sin, which obviously is a great thing to do. And if you live without sin, you are a very holy person. Sometimes we might think that to be holy means that you spend long hours in prayer, or you spend lots of time in church. Again, that's not a bad thing to do. But St. Thomas Aquinas, when he defines holiness, how St. Thomas Aquinas defines it is the fire of charity within our souls. That is the measure of holiness. Those who are the most holy are those whose hearts have been set on fire for God, and set on fire for the world, and set on fire for others. Who does not want to live life that way? Holiness is not restrictive, it's not boring, it's not prudish. It is the greatest way to live. A heart set on fire for God and for the world.